Some of you may know that I wasn't really into Ultraman. I remember watching the 4Kids Tiga dub when I was little, but I wasn't really all that into it. Then, when I got into Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, I remember a subgroup working on Ultraman Ginga, so I figured, why not? After watching it all the way, I thought it was kinda boring, actually. The suit was amazing and I liked John Nine's voice, but I couldn't say anything past that. Anything I watched afterwards that was Ultraman related only came from clips and occasionally an episode or two. Of course, I also made that retrospective with Ultraman X, where I said it was good, but it wasn't my thing. Then my friend suggested on making an Ultra month. I knew at least a bit about Ultra and I trusted them, so of course, I wanted to get into the series a bit more. Dawn, the History of Ultraman host, was watching Ultraman 66, while my other friend Liz kept asking if I wanted to watch some Ultra with her like Mabius and Gaia. I even asked Twitter what I should watch since my curiosity kept growing and growing. Finally, Liz and I sat down to start Ultra 7. I was expecting a bit of that Showa cheesiness with a friendly alien connecting with a human host, so I was surprised that it wasn't exactly what I saw with Ultra 7. Right from the first frame, Liz tells me that it's already a big contrast from Ultra 66, with darker colors and a more serious tone. I was introduced to the obligatory organization and Dan Motoboshi, who's actually Ultra 7 in human form. Towards the end of the episode, we got our giant battles and Ultra 7 saving the day by... Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting anything like that from Ultraman of all things. With that, my thoughts on Ultra 7 was... I didn't like it. At all. Not the characters, the visuals, not even the concepts. At first I brushed it off saying it was episode 1, I'm sure I'll get something out of this show after a few more. Since the show is episodic, Liz showed me one of her favorite episodes out of order, episode 8, which was directed by Akio Jisoji. The visuals were pretty cool. That's about it. Alright, maybe Ultra 7 just wasn't for me. I could still see why people liked it. I was trying to keep a positive mind after all. So I slept on it. The next morning, I had this weird feeling. I actually wanted to watch Ultra 7 again. I watched a couple more episodes by myself, saw another with Liz, and I got it. It all clicked. Suddenly, I wanted to watch more Ultraman. That led me to Ultraman 1966, Gaia, Ginga, Rube, Taiga, Orb, and even Ultra Q. I wanted to have Ultra merch with all these Ultra SHFs, and I supported the official release through Mill Creek's DVDs. Then it all culminated to watching Ultraman Z live with my friends, which is a moment I'll never forget. Now originally this was gonna be just a review on Ultraman Taiga, but then I went down this Ultra rabbit hole, and I did want to ask myself, what was it that clicked with me exactly? This is going to be extremely broad, and don't take this any more than me overthinking, okay? When it comes to tokusatsu, I think it generally has great action and suits. But if I want to delve into groups, then I watch Garo for the world building, Kamen Rider for the characters, and Super Sentai for its emotional messages. I'm not saying other shows don't have these elements, it's just my personal interpretation and what I personally watch them for. With Ultraman, I feel like it's a balance of these three elements, along with a secret ingredient. Of course, the action is amazing with its giant monster wrestling, and the suits are great, with X and Ginga being my favorites. Speaking of favorites, one of the many things that made me fall in love with Ultra was the world building, and alongside that is how the legacy is embraced. Seeing past kaiju appear in later Showa or New Generation seasons had me cheering. Need I remind you how Liz and I gushed over seeing Gomez again in Ultraman Z?
Gomez!
Oh my gosh, the first Ultra monster! Building on top of that is the world and multiverses Ultraman exist in. When the original Ultraman said that he was from Nebula M78, I knew this was going to be a larger-than-life show. The Land of Light? What could that be? It has a population of 18 billion? Think of the merchandise. Then when Ultramen showed up or were referenced, my interest just grew. I love fusion gimmicks in general, but seeing that new generation henshin devices are mostly fusions, I couldn't contain my excitement. In fact, these gimmicks are what got me into wanting to watch other Ultra seasons like Ultraman Max and Ultraman Tiga. Oh wow, these Ultras had their own seasons? I better check them out. I think the fusion gimmick is a bit overhated. In fact, I wouldn't mind if they continued. Because I want to see past Ultras being held close not only to Tsuburaya, but to me as well. Past that, I just fell in love with the human side of these stories, especially with Showa seasons like Ultra 7. I've told my friends that I adore how grounded the humans are in their everyday life, and there happens to be a host that fights the giant monsters. I don't mean a literal interpretation of being grounded since it is a sci-fi show, but I mean how close I feel with these characters. Sometimes the main heroes don't even have to show up for me to be invested in these stories. Episode 45 of Ultra 7 barely has Dan or the Ultra Guard at all, as it tells a boy who cried wolf story, but it ends with a trippy yet beautiful scene with the aliens. Heisei and New Generation Ultra have great characters too, Guy Kurenai being pretty up there for me, but a famous one would be Jugless Juggler, and I love them. Not to mention the group dynamics between the hosts and their team, their friends, their families. Looking back, Ultraman X had such beautiful scenes after battles when the team would be happy together. Ultraman Ginga is just so wholesome. It's cast too as we see them go from summer vacation to school life like we're truly following their story. There's this bond that I enjoyed seeing with each team and their Giants of Light, and it's something unique to this franchise. Earlier I mentioned a secret ingredient that made everything perfect in my eyes. That ingredient being passion. You can see all the work put into the sets, the writing, the care put to craft these miniatures to get a beautiful frame, the large battles against gorgeous scenery. It's truly beautiful. After this past month of watching Ultra Show after Ultra Show, my love for it grew even more once Ultraman Z aired live, simulcast, with English subs on YouTube. It's an amazing time to be an Ultraman fan, and I'm happy to be here for it. Of course, this probably means I will be making more Ultra videos past Ultra Month. I'm actually working on a couple right now as I finish Ultra 7, but we'll see about that in the future. So, I've been watching Ultraman, and I fell in love. I love fusion gimmicks in general, but seeing